Shader Effects is a node-based editor that allows you to create game effects and shaders directly inside of Maya. It allows for quick iterations, intuitive creation, and real-time feedback. So this is an example of a shader that was done inside of Maya using Shader Effects. It's got a really awesome look to it, and a lot of this stuff is actually being driven procedurally, like all the water and little raindrops and things like that. So let's go ahead and jump into the node editor of Shader Effects and begin exploring this shader. So when you open up Shader Effects for the first time, basically you're always going to start off with a traditional game shader. So we've done a lot of the heavy lifting here for you. This is a pretty awesome shader to start off, and all the attributes that you'd want to start mapping are exposed, so you can just start dropping in all your own custom work directly on top of this traditional game shader. With that being said, sometimes you might want to have your own customized version of a shader. You could either start from scratch or just dive into the group of this shader and modify it to make it your own. So when working with shader effects, it's really pretty straightforward to start making relationships between all of these different options. You have a bunch of nodes on your left-hand side that you can use to start generating shaders from. You can also access all the same information by right mouse clicking and getting flyout menus. So let's go ahead and just build up a couple of nodes here and make a simple little texture. So we'll go to the math nodes. I'm going to grab a multiply, drag that out, then I'm going to right mouse click and show you the other workflow. So we're just going to say, let's get a pattern. We'll get a 2D checker, and we're going to multiply that 2D checker times another pattern. And I'll grab this one because this one's pretty awesome. So we've got our two patterns. To make the connections, it's a very simple drag and drop operation. So we'll just take the float and put it to the float. As soon as I grab this color and put it into my multiply, notice a little shader ball that shows up. That gives me the ability to expand and turn on the preview. As I start to move this around, you can see that little noise pattern kind of happening underneath there, that little breakup pattern happening. This is a really fun node, actually. If you dive into this one, it's basically using some custom code. So if you've got legacy code kicking around, or if there's something that's just simple to do in code, that's easier to do in code maybe than using a bunch of nodes, you can create your own custom code nodes, and then basically just put your code directly inside of Shader Effects. It's pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and close that down. We'll get out of this group. The last thing that I want to talk about is the fact that any of these options that you think an artist might want to interact with, you can expose at the attribute editor level. So something like on the reflection here, you can see that the texture path has been exposed so that an artist could repipe in a texture path onto that reflection tab. And if we look at this node tree for this shader, it's pretty awesome. What the shader developer did to get this overall effect is really quite amazing. Like, you can dive into these groups all over the place and be like, well, how does the wetness work? Well, here it is. This is the math and the procedures that go into creating that wetness effect shooting down the ship. So it's just a really fun shader. So let's go ahead and close this down. We'll play back our shader effect one more time. And while that's playing back, you can see at the shader effect level at the attribute editor, all the stuff that's been exposed for me to play around with as the artist. So I can turn on different things like caustic effects, or go down here to maybe some of these water effects and start playing around with, how does that water blend in? How harsh is it? How soft is it? How much brightness or darkness does it have? Is it starting to kick in more reflection? So the shader developer, Chris, just did an amazing job on this shader for me. So that's Shader Effects, Maya's new node-based editor for creating game and shader effects inside of Maya 2015.